Most CEOs aren't lacking strategy, they're lacking signals. In a world that's moving as fast as this is, the best leaders don't just react to trends, they see them coming. But that's a skill that needs to be honed, and that's why it's on the leaders list. That's also why we're inviting Nic Padilla of Boostability to come and speak with us today. His team literally tracks millions of keywords on a daily basis across platforms like Google, ChatGPT, Amazon, Gemini, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that you get information. They're understanding the difference between what's noise, what's hot, what's fading, and where to move next. So, who better to help us understand how to manage trends? I'm Bryon Morrison. Let's get to the leaders list. All right, Nic Padilla, welcome to the leaders list.
Thank you so much, Bryon, man. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. You know, we're talking about harnessing industry trends. And, you know, in a time like this, when so much is changing, everybody's got a different perspective on what's going to happen next. We felt like having somebody with your background come in and talk to us specifically because of what you guys do at Boostability and the way that you track keywords, terms, what people are looking at, how people are thinking. We just thought you have such a unique practitioner mindset to be able to share with our audience. So why don't we kick off first with just a little bit about Boostability? And I think you've been there, what, nearly 13 years or something like that? Like you've been
14 years, man. Talk about
amazing.
That's crazy. Someday, you go to kindergarten through your senior year of high school, and that's 13 years. And to think that I've been at Boostability longer than I was in like elementary through high school is crazy to think. Crazy.
Yeah, and you're still not old enough to drink. That's amazing.
Right, dear Lord. I don't know what I did wrong, but I'm doing it right, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about Boostability and how you've worked through that organization.
Absolutely. So Boostability, we're a white label SEO company out of Utah. We enable marketing agencies, radio agencies, hosting companies to have an SEO product that they can sell to their customers without having to do the work. We'll help you with sales, fulfillment, account management. We will make your life as easy as possible when it comes to selling and working inside of the SEO world. So I've worked for Boostability now almost 13, 14 years. What I love about Boostability is we're real people. We don't have to worry about, what's happening? This tool is down. What's happening here? We've had to deal with the evolution of the SEO product, right? In the past, you had Google and you had Bing. Bing had more value than what it has today. But we've heard one constant thing throughout all of this time since we started in 2009. And I'm sure you've heard this as well. SEO is dead. Guess what? It's not freaking dead. We are still here. What is search engine optimization? It is optimizing your opportunity to be found on the search engines. It's not Google engine optimization. It is nothing other than search engine optimization. Now, what is dying is search engine manipulation. All of the algorithm updates, all of the changes that they go through, those will determine whether or not you can do what you were doing before. That's it. It's just rules. We're getting rules, folks. It's not too complicated. So what we're dealing with today in today's world, 2025, going into 2026, is there are new search engines, Gemini, ChatGPT, all of these LLMs that their goal is to get something inside of their search found, whether or not that's an answer, if that's a specific recommendation, a process, that is their goal. But we still need to remember one quick thing is 84% of search is still happening on Google. So while this new thing where about like 7% of search is happening on it, we still need to remember 84% is there with Google.
Yeah, that's so fascinating that you think of and reference Gemini and ChatGPT as search engines. And it's not uncommon that we talked about like Amazon as a search engine. For certain audience segments, that's where they might have gone first. YouTube is where they go first. So you're right. I mean, search in general just speaks to what an audience is going through and how they're finding information, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's been a couple of cool things that have come out. I like to follow Rand Fishkin, and he said that it is no longer search engine optimization, it's search everywhere optimization. And everybody's trying to come up with these cool acronyms on
Yeah.
what they want to say and how they want to say it. But ultimately, we're just trying to help people be found, which is traditional marketing always. We want somebody to be found in today's world in utilizing the resources that people are using.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So you've worked through every position in that organization and you work with CEOs all the time and counsel them on how to specifically around agencies. I love the model and the fact that you guys are white label, for lots of organizations. So some of you folks out there that are working with your agency on search might be working with Nic and his team anyway. But the whole point of the leaders list is, based on what we're doing today, what do we have on our list? What are we paying attention to? And I'm kind of curious, as you've risen to the point of heading up all business development and partnerships with Boostability, what's been on your leaders list that has stuck with you and that you continue to do to be able to align, the revenue channels with partnerships and your teams and get everybody on the same page? What are some of the things that have really stuck with you that you've used?
Number one, Bryon, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak, and I'm also humble. Like I absolutely do see myself as a leader, but I've had to work with some amazing people that have hoisted me up on their shoulders, and we've been able to achieve some amazing things. I started off at Boostability on the phones. I answered phone calls originally. I was brought on because I speak Spanish, and they said, you know what, we have some potential Spanish customers. We're releasing a websites product that is really cheap for the Latin market here in the US. I come on and they say, you know what, it's not really working out. Why don't you hop on the phones? At the time, I was uh, a father, a husband, and I had two kids, right? Young kids. And I said, how am I going to provide for these kids? And I found out that there was a commission program. And I determined, you know what? On every call, I'm going to make them freaking love me. I'm going to make it to where if somebody says, you know what, I need to speak with somebody, Nic. If it comes to a website, I need to speak with Nic. Then on top of that, every phone call that I do, I'm going to do the McDonald's. Do you want fries with that? And that's how I provided for my family. With time, Boostability said, you know what, we'd love for you to be on our premium team. I helped with the development of our premium product and figuring out what we should and should not do, how we present it. Then they say, you know what if you were to represent us with a major partnership that we've got out of Melbourne, Australia? Lived there for 2.5 years, and I had to represent Boostability. This is the first time I'm representing a company in another freaking country, let alone, I mean, Aussies are great. They're a little bit different, right? Uh, and I had to figure out, what do they need? But one thing I recognized was, if I create a good enough relationship with that person, if they ask something, I'll be there. I might not know the answer, but I will get them the answer, and I will always tell them the truth. They brought me back. I'm now in charge of setting up the relationships with the different companies that are partnering with us. And I've had the opportunity of going to 14 different countries representing Boostability and helping them find new partnerships and new opportunities. If I were to say, what is it that Nic Padilla is? I care about people. Bryon, I met you at a conference. I met you and I remembered you because of your name. And I had to make a joke inside of my head where I'm like, you know what? He reminds me of the Brian Regan bit where everybody pronounces his name as like, well, my name's Bryon, right? But if I create that relationship with you, and if I say, hey, I can help you out with that, I will always be that connector, whether or not it's you working with me or finding somebody else. So if I were to say, what is it that's made Nic become a leader and at least helping other people, it's being reliable, it's being present, and it's telling the truth.
Yeah, that is absolutely great counsel, because I can tell you that you live that, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons that you are always one of my first stops. I know you're going to be honest, sometimes to the point it hurts. I like it. So that's good. I mean, like that is that's why you're successful at what you do. So now, thank you for that. Let's move on to the subject at hand, which is just about understanding trends, identifying them, being able to track and use them. So a lot of SMBs struggle with this, and frankly, I think a lot of individuals struggle with this. I actually teach this in one of my classes for marketers. How do you start to identify trends? And so when you're thinking about this and you're looking at all of the information that's available to you through Boostability, when you're talking to clients, how do you help them identify what is a real trend versus what's noise?
Absolutely. It's a beast. You have to make sure that you're agile enough to where you're understanding what moves you should make, but also at the same time not sacrificing everything that you've got. Um, I think the most important thing is identifying where your people are, and that's where you need to market. If that's a change in AI, cool. If that's a change in Google, we need to make sure that we understand who's there. So when we're selling on Boostability side, the most important thing is we're going to say, this is where you're at, this is where your customers are at, and this is what we need to do in order to get in front of them. And this is how your competitors are doing something to get in front of your customers. But the most important thing is you can't sacrifice yourself for something shiny. You simply can't. And there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be something brilliant. If you don't know who you are and what you are, and then you're sacrificing yourself for something shiny, it will never work out. But I will always look at the basics: traffic. How many people are searching on Google? How many people are searching on ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever it may be? And then how are they searching? What is the difference? On Google, we know that, and I'll give you an example. On Google, people are searching for an actual result. They need something. They need it now. I'm not going to search there, oh, I've got this suspicious mole on my right calf, right? I'm but if I take a picture of that mole on the calf, how long it's been, and I send it to ChatGPT, it will tell me better than what Google will do. So we need to understand how people are searching and how they're interacting with each thing. And then we need to make sure that we support it. So we specifically have an optimization process for Google. We have an optimization process for ChatGPT. One is making sure that we have an FAQ on every page to answer those ChatGPT LLM type questions. And then on the other side, we're going to make sure people are searching, and Google will highlight certain areas of a website: titles, descriptions, H1s, copy. We're going to make sure they're highlighted in the way that Google needs it. But if we were to strictly sacrifice everything just to focus on ChatGPT, you're going to lose 84% of search opportunities for people who are just searching for 7% that might actually only be looking for that answer about the mole, not I need a doctor.
Yeah. It's so there's no doubt change is happening. You have to be aware of that. You have to keep your eye on potential changes, but you can't lose sight of where the business is still operating well. So you're about, yes, it went from 96% to 84%. Google is still highly relevant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we also need to understand that ChatGPT is utilizing some of the data that we're getting from Google, or they're utilizing what they're getting from Bing's webmaster tools. We need to make sure that we're prepared for all of it, but you can't throw everything away.
Yeah. So what's the biggest recommendation you've made in terms of helping people start to understand the impact of ChatGPT, Gemini, the different AI-based engines?
Of course, it is an absolute revolution. It is changing. It is making it to where people have more information so freaking quick. I love it. But we also need to understand that it's a tool. So there's two ways that I speak to it. There's the tool of how is it going to help your business? You can have it analyze all of your spreadsheets. You can say, hey, this is a recording. Tell me your thoughts on what happened between here and there, and it will help you analyze it. But if you notice, you have to give the prompts. You have to say, this is what I want. And if you don't know how to say it, sometimes you get, help me edit this picture, and it makes me like 35 pounds lighter. and it doesn't look like me. And it's like that. Wait a second. Like, I get it. You're trying to make me more beautiful, but it's not going to work out. The other side is we need to understand that not everybody's utilizing it in the way that you want. It's not just going to answer all your questions. It is a tool at this moment. It is not revolutionizing everything that we do. And we need to make sure that we're utilizing it to help us be more accurate, to help us be more efficient. But at the end of the day, I still care about Bryon, and Bryon will always be there. And now Bryon's better at doing everything that he can because he has access to more tools. That's simply it.
Okay. And what do you think is the biggest mistake that, yeah, I mean, you work with a ton of SMB leaders just like we do. And so, what do you see repeatedly as an issue when it comes to understanding trends, working with trends? What do you think the big mistake is that everybody makes?
So the biggest mistake that I see is people spread themselves too thin. What I'm seeing with a lot of agencies that are smaller and starting off is if they can identify a specific niche. If I'm really good with this one specific lawyer, what if I were to then practice on 4 or 5 other lawyers? The identification of a niche that you can go after, and then you can identify however many problems that come up, and you can say, I resolved it with this lawyer. What if I do it with this one? So identification of maybe the same types of clients that you can go off after, that might help you in the long run. On top of that, the biggest mistake that I see happening is if you don't have a core product and adding too many products at the same time, you end up making your life 10 times more difficult because you can't be an expert. Similar to identification of the niche, if you have 50 products and 3 customers, you don't have that ability to scale and really hone and make your product even better. So get really good at one, kill it, and then find different ways to do that one with more people.
Yeah. So the riches are in the niches.
Absolutely. All day long. All day long.
Got it.
I can't believe I've found some marketing agencies that only do marketing for fencing. Vinyl fencing. Are you kidding me? And we're not talking about
Yeah.
2 customers. We're talking about hundreds of customers. I've run into that. I've run into dentists, lawyers, roofing. If you can make it to where you can have that work at scale, you're already beating the competition.
I love it. What do you use? What sources do you use for trend tracking? And what does Boostability use?
Ooh, there's a couple of things. You've got to know who to follow, who your trusted resources are. There's people like Rand Fishkin and others that put out some great info on the SEO world.
Mm-hmm.
You can also look at some of the articles that happen on Moz or Search Engine Land when it comes to that. We also are spoiled. We've got 4.4 million keywords. You know what that tells us? If we hire some freaking nerds who know how to use ChatGPT, we then can analyze all of that data and say, okay, with this specific vertical, let's say if it's roofers, what tasks did these customers who were working the best, what did they have compared to the ones that didn't? And then we can say, you know what? We need to allocate those tasks across the board. So having the ability to utilize that data is great. And then different ways of tracking, right? Now we have to find a way to track and show that people are making decisions on ChatGPT and others. So having tracking devices such as, Google Analytics, those types of things helps a ton.
Yeah, that is great. You made a really interesting point, and I think this is one of those things that, like, all organizations have to think about unique data that they capture. And it doesn't mean, like, obviously you have 4.4 million keywords, right? I mean, you're tracking at scale and
Yeah,
massive, massive scale that most organizations aren't going to be familiar with. But even in your own organization, just being able to look at how you work with clients, how clients have changed, what industry segments you work in, how deep you go in industry segments, everything you just said before, the ability to start to think about that and do trend lines and watch for change, that's a great place for people to start, right?
absolutely. I think it starts from anywhere from how many phone calls am I doing? If you can track how many phone calls you're doing, how many contact attempts, when was the last time I reached out to Bryon? Then from there, it's like, okay, let's analyze the call that we had. I
Yeah.
actually started my My first real job, I worked at Dish Network on their quality assurance team. I helped analyze some of the Spanish calls from, they had outsourced their customer service to a company in Mexico City and Costa Rica. So I would listen to those calls and say, okay, this is exactly what's happening. This is the tone of the call. But of course, it's my opinion. But now, if you could utilize AI, some sort of way of establishing a baseline, understanding where you're coming from and where you want to go, that's the only way you'll be able to make a change.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And so, thinking about the leaders list and our listeners, they're typically founders, CEOs, top executives in 500 and fewer employee companies.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking about that audience and what is on their leaders list as they start thinking about trends, if you were going to put your hat on, look into the, your futurist hat on and look into the crystal ball at the same time, what are some of the trends that you would suggest from your area of expertise that they should have on their leaders list and be thinking about if they're expanding out like a 3-year window?
Yeah. Right now, one of the most important things that we need to remember with all these tools that are coming out is somebody needs to be able to utilize them. Hercules, I love Disney movies. So when Hercules comes out and he whips out this fish, he's like, a hero is only as good as his, and it's a fish. These customers, these agents that you've got, these employees that you're going to have, they need to understand the tools that they're utilizing. There's no value in having ChatGPT or anything else if they don't know how to utilize those tools. In the next 3 to 5 years, I believe that everybody that's inside of the workforces today will utilize a form of AI on a daily basis, even I would say down to the minute, whether or not it's listening to phone calls, analyzing the ways that you do presentations, the ways that you think, whether or not you send an email, a tone. I mean, I listen to a guy who does a roofing sales pitches, and these salespeople walk in with a little microphone. And at the end of their pitch, they have a full script and dialogue of how their pitch went. And they will tell them what their tone was like, what the customer said. If you guys can learn how to utilize AI to check what they're doing, what they're not doing, everything will be 10 times better. If this was just, 6, 7 months ago, I was doing about like 3 to 4 pitches a day based on like follow-up. These are the emails. This is everything that I need to send out. This is the recap. Just with having Fathom AI join every single call that I've got, here's what happens. I now have every call, every task that I've got a task list that comes out and what I need to do and what I need to send. If I have a VA or somebody who then pulls that information, puts it inside of a central CRM, I then work inside of that. They work inside of that, and we complete all of those tasks together. I now can do between 7 and my record's 17 pitches in one day, between 30 and an hour long, because I now have these tools available to me. Next 3 to 5 years, everybody's going to have those tools. Whether or not it's, hey, I need you to track this. Tell me what happened with this specific call. It looks as though you missed this task. But if everybody learned how to utilize the tools there in a proper way, efficiency, productivity, and accuracy goes so much better.
Man, I love it. So it's the utilization and acceptance and utilization of tools is your perception of what is going to be the biggest change and bet to make.
Absolutely.
That's so interesting, right? Especially when we think about like people are coming out and saying, I'm not going to hire college graduates because I'm going to use AI instead. I think that's such a smart perception because you're 100% right. It is not necessarily just about, there's great efficiencies to be made. There's no question. But with each one of those efficiencies, there's new opportunity. And that example you just gave, I remember when Ray Dalio, around principles came out with this concept of radical transparency. And I looked at that and I thought the exact same thing. I was like, that just enables so many other people to be part of the process. And So yeah, I think that's a really compelling thought, because it's more about understanding how all of these new tools can enable someone else.
Of course. I mean, think of it like this, right? What glasses do you have on right now?
I have my Ray-Ban Stories.
Yeah. What do you utilize those for?
It's all of my microphone and my audio and camera, and I can't see otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Could you imagine this? In the past, if this was like 6 years ago and I said, I had a conversation with Bryon, I think this is what he said, right? Now it then becomes, let me see exactly what he said.
Yeah.
The ability to have full transparency and proper communication is now the best that it's ever been. And if we can utilize the tools around us to make sure that we're all speaking the exact same language, only good things will happen.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that, Nick, though? I mean, there's an understanding of the functionality. Something changed, right? I mean, like when I was talking about radical transparency and recording every call so that other people could take part in it, that was something a lot of people I talked to were like, well, you're crazy. Like you should not do that. And then all of a sudden, all of us start using this great technology where it gives us, Fireflies tells us what the call was about, and Zoom gives us a summary, and then all of a sudden we go, well, that is a lot better. And so, your point about the more open we are to being able to use these tools, but also be prepared. Like I remember your point about these glasses. I had the, first pair of Google Glass. And every time I would wear that around, I loved it. The technology was amazing. But every time you would talk to somebody, they would just sit there and they'd stare at the little screen,
Yes.
right? And it was like, okay, I can't even have a conversation with you. So, things have to move at a pace that they're going to, we have to accept the pace of change.
Of course.
But the more we can start to work into it and, start to be prepared, the more we'll be ready for change and it won't be frightening.
Yeah. I think as we're hiring people, we need to make sure that we have the right mindset. I believe that somebody with the right mindset, no matter what, will be successful. It doesn't matter. I was having a conversation with my mother about how the stresses of today's world is a little bit different than when she was, in her prime when it comes to the workforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
The idea of she would send out letters to communicate with the clients from the company that she worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Those letters had a certain amount of time to get to the customer. Customer would then see it, then take time to even send it back, then sending it back.
Yeah, it's the latency loop, right?
Oh my gosh. Our latency loop today, I had somebody today that said, hey, Nick, I need to speak to you. This was on Facebook. Business is happening on Facebook, which is crazy. Facebook Messenger. I called him within 30 seconds of receiving that. We resolved his question that he had within 2 minutes. In the past, just 3 years ago, it might have been email or a phone call or a voicemail. I don't even know the last time that I listened to a voicemail. I still leave them though. But there's always just the amount of time is less, and we need to make sure that we're prepared. And you can't just be this agnostic, I only do this anymore.
Yeah. I love it, Nick. There's so much good stuff in everything you've just shared. And, as we're wrestling with emerging trends and harnessing those trends, this mindset that you're talking about is perfect for every one of our listeners. If there's anything you want to share, last closing thoughts, thinking about the fact that this is about tomorrow, I'm going to go do something differently based on what I just learned on the leaders list. What would you say the takeaway is? Go do tomorrow. What would you recommend to be able to work with and understand trends?
Of course. I think on my side, the only way that I see anything, whether or not I'm hiring somebody, whether or not I'm thinking about this partnership that I'm trying to land, is if I have the right mindset, I need to be uncomfortable. If I'm too comfortable, I'm going to stay sedentary, right? Still water goes bad. I need to make sure that I'm running, I'm walking, I'm understanding what's happening. So I'm going to test things out. I'm going to say, all right, ChatGPT, I'm going to have voice conversations with that. I'm going to figure out what's going on with, if I want to journal, or, hey, I listened to this really cool thing. I want to remember this. Or I'm going to look at the different tools that are available that aren't ChatGPT. I'm going to look at, okay, why is LinkedIn right now, none of the messages that I'm sending out on LinkedIn are really working? Well, probably because everybody and their mother's on LinkedIn right now, right? So we just need to make sure that we're prepared and we're uncomfortable to bring comfort in the future.
I love it. All right, Nic Padilla, thank you so much for all your insights. Thank you for being on the leaders list. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Bryon. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks.